We don't just take their money and run like a butter bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran in their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
And so my honesty cap is dedicated to a little, we'll call it a public service announcement for civilians and other people in the military. There are a few people that you should always take their stories with a grain of salt. Vegans, CrossFitters, and special operations guys that tell you that they were special operations without being prompted. The first thing they say is, yeah, I used to be soft. Right. The only unicorn in that entire group is like a special operations guy that was like a vegan and did CrossFit. That guy's probably going to stay quiet for a little bit longer because he's confused as what he should talk about first. That's the only reason. Right. Anybody that says that they were soft without being prompted or without it being like a normal part of your communications is probably either an enabler or going to tell you a bunch of stuff that's not exactly true.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you are doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger Instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. ready to go.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, Trash Talkers? What is up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 30 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guests today are General Paul E. Funk II and General Michael X. Garrett, two 4-star generals who led entire commands and never forgot what it means to wear the uniform. And as usual, I'm here with Buddy and Nick. Happy Saturday. Boom.
They also never learned how to sign on to the internet.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to leave that up to somebody else, but...
You know, there's a rumor that, you know, there was an email saying, hey, who should absorb who, TRADOC or, you know, ForceCom or Futures Command, TRADOC or Futures Command. And the email was apparently in General Garrett's thing, and that's why Futures Command now has TRADOC. I'm not sure. That's just what I heard. Like,
I think that could be very true.
So all I had to do was answer. All I had to do was answer the email.
How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic.
Let me put my my readers on. What's up, guys?
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I had to leave my my daughters in the CIF prelims sectional prelims for
Your
the high
daughters
jump at
are in
800.
CIF?
Yeah,
My daughters.
they're not turning in equipment. The California sports. But she just qualified for the sectional finals in the high jump as a sophomore, and she has her 800 coming up here in about probably 30 minutes. So pretty pumped.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
It
all goes back to that. It all goes back to that stretch I was doing. I had those kids doing Army movement drills.
Impressive. That was impressive.
That brought back some great memories.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Well, I had my kiddos doing that ever since they were little, and they're like, "Man, where'd you learn that run form?" I'm like, "Army movement drills, man. Like, they literally teach you how to run." So they're
exactly
doing it. They're
right.
kicking it. So
I'm going to break.
But anyhow, yeah. Before we get to our guests, we're going to kickstart it with another conspiracy. And I thought real hard about today's conspiracy, and figured since we have two guests that were extremely high up the chain, they might know a thing or two about this, you know, or they might not comment at all on it and just laugh it off. But have you guys ever heard of the Black Knight satellite? Anybody? I know Buddy has, because I spoke to Buddy about it yesterday. So the Black Knight satellite is described as a mysterious object orbiting Earth. Some claim it's alien. Others say it's Cold War tech from a secret program no one's ever officially acknowledged. And supposedly was spotted in a polar orbit in the 1960s, which supposedly at that time wasn't even a capability that we had. Then photographed by NASA in the 90s. And it's also communicating with a different star constellation. So I got a little video we're going to play, and then we're going to talk about it. Go ahead, Chris.
Awesome.
Where did he go?
Black Knight satellite is this object orbiting the Earth right now. Now, when it first was discovered, NASA and Soviet Union went on high alert. Russia went on high alert. They were like, wait a minute. They thought we were both doing something to each other from space.
Nuke orbiting the Earth.
Right. But they said, wait a minute. We can't launch 15 tons. They were like, well, we can't launch 15 tons. But what is this thing? So they flew by it with an STS mission, a space shuttle mission, and took high definition photos, which are still on NASA.gov today. Nikola Tesla claims to have received a signal from this object. First, he thought it was from Mars. Then he thought it might have been from something much closer to Earth. But back then, when he was getting these radio signals from space, because this thing is emitting a signal, a frequency, there was nothing else here. There was nothing, no satellites. We had no technology except for what he was making. So what was this frequency? So he then assumed it might have been coming from something much closer. What was interesting is in 1960, Russia and America began the space race just before that, and Russia was building Sputnik, already had one going up. So all eyes were in space around the low Earth orbit, trying to figure out how do we get something to orbit this planet. And during this process, they they discovered this thing was in a polar orbit. We couldn't do a polar orbit at the time this was discovered in a polar orbit in 1960. We couldn't do a polar orbit.
All the satellites orbited the equator.
That's right. I believe that this thing is transmitting information back to Boötes via quantum entanglement communication, because Boötes is light years away, so that means it would take a long time at the speed of light. However, if you quantum entangle with a communications device back at Boötes, you can transmit the information instantaneously. And the reason why I believe they won't touch this thing is because what if it has a self-destruct mechanism or some type of a defense mechanism that we don't know of? We don't want to activate it. We don't want to touch it. What if it says, hey, they're messing with me, and all of a sudden here comes the cavalry? They just leave it alone. Don't touch it. It ain't doing nothing to us. We ain't doing nothing to it.
Yeah. So I even chat GPT'd this one, and apparently this is a very popular one because it's kind of like a 50-50 thing on this one. Like, there are people that are just claiming it's space junk, but then, like, what's space junk? Like, some are saying it was from one of our rockets that we shot up there, but then if Nikola Tesla, already mentioned it, there were no rockets in space at that point. Others are claiming it was just, technology that we have that's not spoken about. And then there's obviously the theory that it could be from a different planet, extraterrestrial or whatever. So I'm gonna go 60 from a different planet and just go wild because that's Faceman tinfoil hat style. And I'm gonna go 40. It's technology that we have that just hasn't been, disclosed to the people. But to the generals on the board, you guys get to go first. I don't care who goes first, but give us something good. Give us something.
Well,
good.
the tanker showed up first. The tanker showed up first, so we should give it to the tanker.
Well, I'm the much younger one. Mike was alive when Tesla was looking at all these things, but I don't have any comment on that high-speed tech. But I did hear the word cavalry, so that got me pretty excited.
Yeah, well, you all know that I am technically challenged, and so not only can I not easily get into websites, I don't even know what the hell you were talking about. I was like, you could come up with 500 better conspiracies. Tesla, I like Tesla. I've read his book. I don't remember that being in there. So I'm gonna say that this is 100% BS.
Okay.
Ditto.
I liked it.
Oh, you can't. You have to have your own answer.
I did.
You got to say it's 100% real.
No, I like to go 98.5. That you're correct, as always. That's the way I always see life. But there's always
what's the 2% making them wrong?
Yes, there's 2% making him wrong. So there you go.
Yeah, we're human beings.
That's right. Usually he's
Jeremy
perfect,
in the chat
but
says,
once
is
in a while
no
he's not.
comment a comment?
That's right.
Yeah. And since it's 2 4-star generals on here, I mean, you guys saying it's not true. Maybe it is actually true, and you guys just can't talk about it. So I'm just going to go with that. You never know.
There you go.
Never know. You never know.
Form your own opinion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Buddy, what you got?
I personally love the fact that in the video, the guy's like, yeah, if you're trying to send communications back, you just got to quantum entangle. And then you'll contain it. Like, oh, just restart your computer and it'll work. Just quantum entangle, dude. Like, duh, everybody does that. Just quantum.
Is that what ham radio operators do? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Like,
yes. So the videos are real quick, buddy.
You guys haven't been quantum entangling this whole time?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I actually have been quantum entangling so much that my messages get to people before I even think about it. That's it. Like, it's like all you got to do is triangulate the quantum barrel shift of the shack wave from Polaris. Duh. And then,
well, somebody said something about tinfoil hats, so I know that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard
it works on our daggers.
I know that there's something there, and they've the thing that makes me feel like there might be something to it is that there are a lot of people that are putting satellites and doing stuff in space and nobody touches it. So they're just like, no, we don't even want to look at it. Just like, we're just gonna do our thing.
Yeah,
steer clear from it. Yeah,
Monty, our Air Force expert says that you're using Air Force words, buddy. Those are Air Force words.
Hey, I can
entanglement or
cross modulate across different services and branches.
Yeah.
If we're just
apparently that's a real thing
in like word jumbles. Like I can do that just as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and again, so I don't know how many shows. I'm sure you guys have watched. Probably most of them.
No doubt.
Every Saturday, I know you're glued to VTT.
Exactly.
But they save me for the last because I'm the smartest person and usually have the real answer. I take everything what everybody says and put it together. But I always tend to fall back on Hollywood tells us the truth, and Hollywood desensitizes us to the truth so that when it actually does come out, we're like, oh, yeah, I saw that movie, and then nobody cares, and it's like, no, we literally just said it was real. Yeah, I saw it already. It's okay. It's too easy. But the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're sitting there in their little debrief. He's like, wait a minute. So the Russians are doing this? Yeah. So we got to do it, but we got to do it bigger. And literally, like, I guarantee you that this thing in space is 100% real.
It's just our technology. Yeah, or somebody's technology.
But it's not technology. I think we just threw some massive thing up into orbit to make Russia have to throw something bigger up into orbit.
Well, the problem is that it's approximately 15 tons, and we can't duplicate that right now.
Yeah.
The heaviest thing that we've sent, I think, is like
that we know about. How did we know we didn't piece it together?
And then when they were watching it, how it was maneuvering and orbiting the Earth, like apparently during that time we didn't have those capabilities to orbit in the way it was orbiting. Like the video's a lot longer. I had to condense it for the show. But there are some things that are really weird. But then again, it could be us, right? Our technology.
Yeah.
I think you give us too much credit. I do think you give us too much credit. Like we had to have some South
Africa. What were those people doing in the space station for that long? Good point, Chris.
Send us stuff into space. So I feel like
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But anyway.
Hollywood is a branch of the Navy. That's true. That's true. So
you've seen Top Gun, right? I mean, there it is, right?
Both of them.
Gentlemen,
yep.
There you go.
Well, I actually know one.
At one point, a dude, there was I think it was an Air Force pilot, but it's like the first guy to have a confirmed kill. Well, I think the only guy to have a confirmed kill on a satellite with a fighter, like just a regular fighter plane.
Is that the same guy who shot the blimp down?
No. This guy shot an actual satellite down.
That's what I should have asked. You two were in command during that time. I should have asked, what was that blimp?
What was that blimp all about?
I think I was out of command. I think we were.
Were you, sir?
We were watching this on CNN.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's not Forcecom's problem. That's CENTCOM's problem. Sorry.
Or some com other than Forcecom.
Yeah, it could have been Northcom's problem.
Yeah, yes. Just by the time we pass it to who's
that was
gone.
Force's issue at the time.
Yeah, it was all about battlefield handover, right? So we had some issues there.
It's not fixed or rotary wing. It's floating. There's nothing in the manual who handles a blimp.
That's right.
You'd have to go back to like Zeppelins, like what was the Zeppelin fighting doctrine?
Well, I don't know about that. We did shoot a couple of down. That got away from us in Iraq, came off tether, and we had to put them down.
The FOB spires.
Yeah, you mean the Sergeant Major's gig machine that he would just kind of use to watch everybody on the towers.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Wait a second. You see that guy? You jack got sideburns from here. Let's go out there. Get out there, Staff Sergeant.
Get the van.
You obviously know our favorite Sergeant Major then, Tony Grinston.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
Now he's in charge of AAR.
Yes, he is. Doing a hell of a job, too, by the way.
Yeah, doing planks with somebody I saw recently.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, too. That was at Fort Leavenworth, I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, buddy.
Anyway,
it's
before
been
we get to our guests, yeah, buddy, do you have something before we get to
it's
the
been
guests?
2 weeks since you've had a good honesty
Yeah.
chat.
I do. And you know what? I've actually written down some notes from a few thoughts that I had. I'm not going to share all of them because we don't have that long of a time. But I was pondering at one point the basically what's wrong with the world today, and like you see all the bad stuff, and like you see all like wars are starting all over the place, like India, and Pakistan, and the Ukraine, and the Middle East, and I came to the conclusion that there are two types of people in the world.
Nice.
There are people that eat bacon, and there are people that do not eat bacon, and the latter just seem very upset. Like upset enough that I think that we could probably, if we could just convince them to get a BLT one time, maybe they would be, there was something we could all gather around. Bacon is delicious. I know we're not supposed to eat it, but it's just a little bad. You know what I mean? Just come together. Let's have a BLT. Let's just talk about it. And I know that like it hasn't always been the non-bacon eating people that have been angry. There was a time where people were like killing each other with a bacon sandwich in one hand. But those people have kind of chilled out now. Now, the non-bacon people are real upset. And I think that if we could just gather around some type of smoked swine, have a discussion, possibly a beer, maybe we could solve the world's problems.
Yeah,
so I say we start sending bacon everywhere. Not my bacon. I don't want to lose mine. But
we can send turkey. We can send turkey bacon.
That's not the same. There's something in the tryptophans or some kind of like saturated fat or something in there. There's some kind of genetic modification that happens when you smoke some pig's guts that make it so that when you eat it, you're like, you know what? I'm just too tired to actually fight anybody. Let's just bullshit. Talk. Let's have a beer.
Yeah.
Try to find a whole. Prove me wrong. I don't think you can.
I like it. I'm gonna tweet Marco Rubio and be like, hey, just invite everybody to a pig roast.
Yeah.
You know, and let's get this solved. Let's get this solved. Bring everybody to a pig roast.
Get it figured out. True. Because I mean, the most people, vegans are angry. People that don't eat because they don't eat bacon. They need there's some kind of like I don't know, some kind of like essential oil in there. Bacon grease is essential oil, I think. And it really calms. There's some synapses up in your brain that need a little lubricating, and the only thing that will lubricate, bacon grease. I'm just saying.
Is that the Austin P vocabulary?
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Well, Austin P and Sparkman High School, home of the Senators. Go Senators. I also find it funny that both places that I graduated from high school and college, one Senators, the other the Governors. So just moving up the political chain in my matriculation, if you will.
Yeah, Austin P is the Harvard of the Southeast. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah. And Sparkman High School is actually well regarded as the Harvard prep school of the South.
Yeah, of Northern Alabama. Yeah,
all of Alabama, really.
Alabama.
To be honest, it's not an intellectual fight going on there too much, but we turned some out.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I like it. No, I agree. There's a lot of things that can always be, handled over, a good meal. And, what was the old saying that we've never went to war with a country that had a McDonald's? Right. So if we just throw a McDonald's.
Russia's got
golf course.
Have we went to war with? You had some satellite wars in Syria with Russia, buddy, but that was more of a drag race.
Proxy stuff, but not like an actual like. Then again, all the big wars were happening before McDonald's.
Yeah, you guys were probably still in when Buddy did that in Syria with Fifth Group. He was drag racing with Russian vehicles.
That wasn't me.
Who got that email? Like, was that like, get put out?
It wasn't
you.
Me.
So
it wasn't me. I did do the first ever joint U.S.-Russian patrol in Kosovo in 1999. Though.
Nice.
That was enlightening. I was much less scared of Russians after that patrol.
Yeah.
In Russia,
right, well,
we tank.
Does anybody have a take on Buddy's honesty cap before we go on? You think it's just bacon that can bring the world together?
I think the reason that nobody has a take is because I'm
right. I think he's onto something.
Okay.
I think he's onto something. I think the essential oil piece is what got me. But I do think though, you got your animals mixed up. You talked about, was it tryptophan?
Tryptophats and stuff. You know what? I know that comes from turkeys. Calm down. Calm down. I know.
I was saying that we could send them turkey bacon if they didn't like pork, and he said you can't send them that because of the tryptophanies.
Tryptophanies.
Or something like
that. Don't want those.
But
that'll probably send them into some gluten, like seizure or something.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. Yeah. Well, now I get the distinct privilege of introducing our guests.
I'm not introducing anybody. So.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Or were you?
No, you get to shut up now, buddy. Yeah. Let people talk.
No, you did that. You did the honesty cap, so you don't get to introduce the guests today.
Staying quiet.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, gentlemen, coming on. We start out every show with conspiracy to kind of bring back that old barracks talk of where we don't have any clue of what we're talking about, but everybody's going to be right about something. So we try to get that going on. And then we didn't get the video updated, but we started this to shed light on the veteran and first responder community, and we did this while we were still active duty. We started this back in 2021 now, and we want the word veteran to associate with successful, entrepreneur, determined, hardworking, and as opposed to broken, disabled. I can't get a job. So what we decided to do is not only provide a community to where it was open to share your feelings, but the whole point is that you own your own demon. All right, and we do understand PTSD, we understand addiction, we understand pain, but get that demon out there, and that way we can talk about it and crush it together. And that's, but then again, like Buddy always brings out, the next part is to go forward from that. All right, what are we doing after that? How are we getting better? What are we doing? So appreciate you guys coming on. I reached out to these guys. I reached out to General Funk on LinkedIn. I've been following some of his posts, and I was like, hey, you need to get you on the Trash Talk Hour. And I'm a massive troll on LinkedIn. That's why I have 2016.
You're a troll everywhere, dude.
Yeah, 2016 runner-up greatest leader of all time. Put the date on there because I always loved on LinkedIn where you just have I'm a transformational leader. Okay, well, what if I don't want to transform anything? That means I don't hire you, right? What if I got things running perfect and I just need someone to do something else, whatever. So excited that you guys accepted. I know a lot of people reached out to them in the community, to include the old Glow, who was talking about Arsent, somebody being an Arsent commander, and was always seen on Ryder Golf Course playing golf. So that's I heard someone's got some golf game. And then we got General Funk, who, like I said in the script, Doge came back with a report that TRADOC spent over $1.2 million in paper printing out Funk's fundamentals. And I will say I got triggered when I got to the academy, and I was working the operations job there in the G3, and I looked over at Funk's fundamentals, and I'm like, how many freaking are there? I'm like, I can't even remember my 3 general orders, and you want me to memorize all these? I'm like, this better not be a freaking board question. I swear to God, some of this stuff, no. But anyways, hey, welcome to the dumpster fire that is Veteran Trash Talk. 2 very successful careers. Coming after, I'm sure you guys, if you want to talk about it, coming after your father's great roles and everything like that, continuing the legacy. And then now that you're out working together, to help, corporations, leaders, anybody else get better at what they're doing. So yeah, welcome to the dumpster fire. Talk about, what you guys got going on now, and, what about your service kind of related to that and all other kinds of stuff. Let's get it rocking and rolling.
Outstanding. Hey, go ahead, Mike, and then I'll chime in. You always tell this story.
Yeah, the only reason he's deferring to me is because I am like a couple months older. But Paul makes it sound, a couple months, but he makes it sound like 10 years. Hey, first of all, I had to go back and have my special assistant, aka my daughter, kind of look at what you guys were doing, and between Paul's son Nate and my daughter, again, my executive assistant, they both thought that this would be something fun, for us to do. And, people are surprised. They'll call me and I'm like, I'll do it if I can do it with Funk. And they'll call Funk and they'll go, well, I can do it, if you do it with Garrett. Like today, this is fun, right? Some of the stuff that we're doing, people are actually paying us, which is even now that's funny, right? You guys talk about conspiracy theories. We find that a little humorous. But one, I do appreciate what you guys are doing. And it was at the very, very beginning, when you talked about the importance of having a network, talking to people who hear things in a way that only we hear things, that communicate, with people, based on past experiences. So first of all, thanks for what you guys are doing. And I'm glad you're having fun with it. Paul Funk and I go back, 25 years, even though I'm older. Paul says he was in the Army. He actually keeps increasing this number. It was 40 years. Now it's 42 years. So not only is he counting all 4 years of college, but I think he wasn't even in junior ROTC, so he shouldn't be able to.
4 years. I did 4 years of junior ROTC.
So you get a badge for that?
Yes, you do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey, I know when you come in the Army in the enlisted side, you get to be a PFC for that. Shit.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get shit when you're an officer for other than benefiting from the experience. But Paul and I have been buddies for a long time. We really got close as brigade commanders in Iraq, and it was kind of like you all started, right? We started calling each other because I had something horrible happen, and Paul just called to check on me, or he had something horrible happen. I called to check on him, and we found that we enjoyed each other's company, and it was a very easy relationship, based on our backgrounds. Paul, I keep telling Paul that, he grew up on the officer side of posts. I grew up on the mean streets where all the NCO kids, grew up. Paul's dad was a 3-star general. My dad was a, command sergeant major. So there was different things that happened on my side of post and Paul's side of post. But the fact of the matter is, this is all we've ever known. And between the two of us, again, over the last 25 years, colonels in Iraq and then general officers in Iraq, right? When I was the RCENT commander, Paul was commanding, I don't know what was before OIR.
It was the CFLIC for OIR, and then was the CJTF commander.
Yeah, so we did that for 4 years, and then the Army really was like, you know what, we're going to promote both of you guys to 4-star general. We're going to put you in, the 2 prominent commands in the Army, TRADOC and FORSCOM. And what they didn't realize was that I think that in the history of the Army, TRADOC and FORSCOM always provide a little bit of useful friction. Well, there was none of that friction with me and Paul, and that threw the Army off, I think, a little bit. That, every time we were in a meeting together, we'd already talked, and we'd already, we were always on the same sheet of music. But I guess the last thing I would tell you is, because you started with transitioning from the military, I've seen a lot of people leave the Army. I know it's a different experience, when you're a 4-star general, or, if you're a, E4 after, your first enlistment. But what I do know is that regardless, it is a big transition, and you got to have somebody, that you care about, somebody that you can share things with, to go through this with you. And I'll tell you, the last 2.5 years, Paul and I, have been that for each other, right? And you all don't think generals have problems, and we really don't. So you're not too far off there. We don't have huge.
No, we had a bipolar general on the show once, so twice actually.
Well, you
General
probably
Martin.
Oh yeah.
General Martin, right?
By the way,
Yeah.
I served with General Martin quite a
He
while.
had
He's
some
so much
serious
fun.
issues for a minute.
He's been on the show.
Yeah.
He's been on the show
Yeah.
twice. He is so much fun.
Yeah. He's a good dude. Hey, I knew him when he was a lieutenant colonel, battalion commander in the 5th Engineers, and he was with us in the 3rd Cavalry. He was a great soldier. Great guy. Greg Martin was a good dude.
Well, I think
I love that.
We've talked about that several times on the show. I think the big mistake that people make when they transition out is they put themselves on an island away from all of the, they try to cut themselves off from their past, and then they try to join, jump back in the stream with all the civilian trout, and they're just not the same.
That's a great analogy. It really is.
If you put yourself, you've got to call back. And it's another thing that we've said before, if you're thinking about one of your buddies, there's a really good chance that they're thinking about you. And it's kind of like, call them.
The universe.
There's a couple of organizations that do that routinely, right? There's a warrior call.
Yep.
If you've had those guys on, the Medal of Honor recipient Petrie's got, he's on that board, and I had them out to Eustis and to Hood, now Cavazos a number of times. They're doing that, right? So just reach out and talk to somebody, pick up the phone and call them. We got to solve this problem together, because like Mike said, we speak a language and have had the experiences that others don't and can't. So I love that. And Mike and I have promised ourselves we get into this mental health fight. We were in it the whole time, trying to make a difference. And when we got out, we're starting to do that as well. We're continuing that fight because, frankly, I tell everybody this: we are America's and you guys especially are America's most precious treasure. It's sons and daughters, and we can't afford to lose them. Right? We just can't. So anything we can do to get into this fight and help people see that asking for help. I love the way you opened up with asking for help is a strength. I love that. I think that's exactly.
Well, I think
right.
we've also gotten to the point now that people make it way more complicated than it has to be. They think they have to call some foundation, or they have to call something. And I'll tell you just a little story that just happened probably about 3 weeks ago. We saw some guys commenting, or a guy commenting on Facebook, and it was all very dark and like I'm checking out, I'm leaving, this, that, and the other. And it just takes one guy to call. There's a guy in every unit that like keeps tab on, for some reason knows everybody. For Charlie Company, I don't know if you guys know this, but Jimmy Bates is pretty much that guy. So I called Jimmy. Jimmy called 3 or 4 different people, got a hold of this guy, and talked to him and did all that stuff. But it doesn't have to be super complicated. If you feel like something's going on, you just call somebody and be like, "Hey, do you remember this guy? You know him? Like, you guys used to pal around. Like, give him a call, see how he's doing or whatever." Yeah. But people feel like they don't want to impose, and they don't want to do okay, so don't impose. Continue to go about your day. And then when you see that something had happened to the guy, you're going to have to live with the fact that you could have, maybe you call and nothing happens. Maybe you call and something does happen. But if you don't make the call at all, then you have to live with the question mark,
Right.
And we're
exactly
supposed to kind of be our brother's keepers. That's kind of what we were supposed to be.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, shout out to Tanner Port in the chat. He says, shout out to General Garrett working with FSU. That'd be Fayetteville State University here to bridge the gap with Bragg.
Oh, the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Seminoles. We're talking about Fayetteville.
By the way, hey, he won't say this, so I will. He got up at 4:30 this morning, drove down to Fayetteville State and attended the graduation. He wouldn't tell you guys that, but that's the kind of guy he is.
Awesome.
I got not a huge deal, sir, but I got 6 months under my belt.
Yeah, and we are a little connected on the mental health fight and things like that. I know Dave said he got I think he said he got a coin from you when he was. I mean, I think we need to
somewhere in USAREC. I forgot where it was.
We need to like devalue this coin a little bit because he says like he's like this recruiter of the year or whatever, but he was a recruiter at Fayetteville. All right,
I can't help it.
Like seriously,
Well,
like that.
Hey, you got to pay where you got to pay. You got to grow where you're playing.
Yeah, it's like you don't even leave the office in Fayetteville.
When I got the coin, though, it wasn't as a recruiter. It was actually as a first sergeant for my company, Make a Mission on both sides. So that's
as a recruiter. A first sergeant recruiter.
They make so much fun of me. We served in the infantry together, and then I went into recruiting later on.
Being a recruiter,
did you get the coin? Did you get the coin from?
It's like being a water salesman in the Sahara Desert. Like, just kind of sells itself.
Yeah.
Did you get it from?
Well, I wish that were the case.
Dave, General Funk or General Garrett? Who'd you get the coin from?
I'm pretty sure it was General Funk. Almost certain.
Yeah, Tradoc and USAREC, right?
It doesn't surprise me.
Garrett as well. He came to Phoenix Battalion once, I'm pretty sure. But General Funk, it wasn't Phoenix as well. It might have been in Phoenix, or it might have been in the Fayetteville recruiting office. But Yep.
And then we got this is something that I know Dave will probably ask a question on too, and I wanted to ask your team a question when it comes to H2F. Because you were at the helm when H2F got there. I didn't know this at the time, but I was at the Sergeant Major's Academy, and I got called by an old performance coach out in Hawaii who I used, and we had her on the show, and we talked about how I weaponized MRT and how poorly MRT was rolled out to even where it was like hug sessions at the end. And I'm like, no warfighter is going to do hug sessions at the end unless it comes with like a beat down and like somebody getting tied to a tree at the end of it, right? Like, so like maybe that'll happen. But, I found out when I finally got into the offices of where some of these people these GS civilians were hiding that were level 2 and 3 human performance coaches, that they brought so much to a fight that in your training that you could use them. And I thought about this. I thought about like, why didn't this ever get, put out this way as a warfighter task and skill, right? It got put out as a soft skill, and that's where it went to die.
Yeah.
But I got asked to write how I used MRT as a warfighter skill. And I've talked about this on the show when we had Karen on the show, Karen Costello. I think she was on your panel when we were launching H2F. But, I brought her to every rifle range. I brought her to every road march.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we made that joke earlier before the show started where if a guy's not running fast, what does an NCO say? Run faster, dude. Right. Like
that's right. That's a counsel.
Like, how about we take them to a performance coach that is getting paid some money to sit on his base, and we work on their running form, we work on their mental aspect of it, and all that. Well, all that long intro there again is I troll H2F and CIMT a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm always saying I hope this gets to the squad leaders, right? Like I hope that people know what's going on. I'll ask you, what's the difficulty at your guys' level where it's like, hey, this program, we got these doctors, these PhDs, we have these plans. And then where do you think like the successes and the not successes of like, we learn from MRT, how does H2F not die? How does it not die?
Well, you got to get buy-in, right? So and we got to move the frozen middle, right? So we can't allow ourselves to take no from somebody who can't say yes, right? So we got to continue to have and show the results, right? So everything became about data, right? So, okay, it was pretty easy to show that we had reduced musculoskeletal injuries in basic training by 38% in the first 90 days that we implemented the program. So 38%. Now, here's the little nasty thing, speaking of recruiting, nasty thing we didn't tell people for a while. We usually recruited 74,000 people to get 47,000 on active duty.
Not anymore.
We lost almost half of them almost half of them to musculoskeletal injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So because we didn't change with the population, what we should have discovered very early on was, why are these kids keep breaking bones and things? Well, guess what it was? It was nutrition. They don't drink milk, and they don't fall down like they used to, and so we start them running and they break their ankles right away because their bones are soft. That was true. We had to bring Ensure into their meals, Ensure, to harden their bones for the calcium. So that was the nutrition piece. So we saw that, and then we saw, we started looking at, okay, what's physical? Why are we not? Kids don't run. They don't understand how to lift, so we had to get professionals that knew how to do that stuff. So really, when you put it together, but the whole thing could be lost if you don't provide the resource, right? So you have to we had to build up, talk to the chief and the secretary, and say, hey, we need the resources to do that. Fortunately, both General McConville and the secretary saw the power of this with the data that we provided on the reduction of injuries and things like that. So that's how you do it. Then you got to get buy-in from the guys on the ground. It's you guys, right? The NCOs out there. Why do you think they call yoga and basic training now warrior stretching?
Because nobody's going
Because
to do
if you
yoga.
called it
Yeah,
yoga,
yoga's
they'd
stupid.
never do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yet that's what they're doing. They'll say, "Oh, we're doing tactical warrior stretching." Okay, that's exactly right. So there is a rollout plan where you got to think your way through how your naming conventions and things like that. But it really comes down to finding those people that are believers and then building upon that. That's how the H2F program came about, frankly. I wish we'd have done it. Hell, I wish we'd have done it 30 years before when I came in, because thinking our way through that piece has changed the condition in look at our re-enlistment rates now, guys. I mean, they're off the chain. They were done with re-enlistment in the Army in March this year.
Yep. Yeah, and my claim to fame on the H2F thing is I didn't realize that I just thought I was given this human performance director just some ideas to brief, somebody. And they ended up reading what you're talking about. I was saying how we do nothing to stop injuries from happening. I go, we do a ton. We're really good in the Army at, responding to an injury. I was like, but
yes.
What are we doing? And that guy, I guess I wrote about a thing called muscle activation technique where they measure your muscles. And it's like chiropractor except with muscle. So they get you centered and they'd be like, hey, this guy's right hip is 2 inches higher than his left hip. Right. So if we put a 40-pound ruck on him and then, 3 years later, he's going to Ranger school and he's got an 80-pound ruck on him, his left knee is going to go out, but it all started at his right hip. Right. And it's like, and then talk about it mentally. And I'll give this one to General Garrett and his, what he thinks about this too, if he wants to comment on it, is we talk about mental health. And I say this all the time, how we don't look at things, as a system holistically, H2F. All right. We say linear, that guy's hip hurts. Let's x-ray his hip. Let's MRI his hip. Let's cut his hip. Right. And we looked at nothing else in the body. Right. And I think suicide, especially veteran suicide, is the exact same way. And the reason why we keep failing at it is we look at it at the veteran as opposed to going back and looking at it before they become veterans. Right. Like, how do we get left to bang? How do we make it a warfighter skill? So just with, being in charge of ForceCom, you'll have, TRADOC implement, doctrine, POI, and then at the ForceCom level, grabbing that, what are we looking at, like, as far as like, how deep in the weeds would you say you were in on like the mental health side of it? Like, where is it where it's like, hey, our job is to win wars. I got to get guys ready to fight. All right. And then I guess the question is, where does that bridge come to, like, what are we doing here and what are we going to prioritize?
Yeah, I think like, most people my age, that grew up in the era that I did, that had the parents that I did, there's no such thing as mental illness. You were either physically weak, mentally weak, So we didn't acknowledge mental illness, and we certainly knew that, there were some folks who were more resilient, than others, but it was all weakness. I mean, I just remember, my early days in 175 as Lieutenant Garrett, and as I listened to the non-commissioned officers and Rangers, the discussions we had then, and then fast forward, to kind of where we are today. So I think the Army, about 15 years ago, acknowledged we had a problem, and then it took us probably another 5 or 6 years to reinforce the message that it's okay, right? I mean, you don't hear us talking about stigma associated with, seeking mental health as much anymore. It still pops up. So my point is, we all, I think, kind of knew we had a problem. We didn't want to admit it because it went counter to our culture, and it's not one of those things that you can see. It's not easily diagnosed. It's not easily planned for, money wise. And then we find ourselves today where we are certainly aware, we acknowledge, but the problem today is it's a big problem. And where we are today is we have insufficient capacity, and we're trying every day, right? But we have insufficient capacity, in my view, to meet the requirements that are out there today. That's in the active component. You have soldiers, officers, service members, leaving the service after however long, and if they're not properly diagnosed, my sense is the VA system is not going to diagnose it for you, right? Especially this population, that we're talking about. So again, I think the Army, the military writ large, has done a pretty good job of identifying this as a problem. We've done a pretty good job of building the structure of programs to allow us to do it. But just like everything else, every day, the Army leadership is prioritizing, activity across a wide range of things. And you started with what was my number one focus every day was, building a lethal force and having, a force that could fight. But I came to the realization quickly that, it didn't matter what kind of illness, mental illness, physical illness, it still impacted, readiness, and was something that we needed to get after.
For sure.
Paul, any?
Well, yeah, Mike, as we continue to make that fight, and you led the charge in making sure that we got the resources necessary to go out and do what we needed to do in terms of the mental aspects of in our units, right? So one of the things we didn't do very well that we should do better is advertise the brigade mental health professionals that are there in every unit now. We don't do a very good job talking about that and what they do and how they can help, and how there's a network out there that can provide solutions. So I think we're getting better at that. I think that our mental health professionals are really good. But the first line of defense, so one of you guys said this right, we just got to disconnect the butthooks from our chair and go down and talk to somebody, right? It's not about that. It's about active participation. I like to call it being positively intrusive. Yep. Right? Let's go ask some questions, get into people's lives, understand what's making them tick. Yep. Let's just do that together.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, mine will be real quick with that, and then because Buddy always knows I'm really quick with these things that I say, and don't take too long and say a bunch of stuff. But no, I was gonna say that what my fight was when I was in, and now what I do now because of this show and with my job of suicide prevention that I'm trying to introduce to the Army as a skill, as a warrior skill, And I'm like, instead of doing knowledge dumps of behavioral health or mental health, like instead of like just, hey, this is who this person is and where they go. No. What do I do in this scenario? All right, put me through it.
Yeah.
Put me through it just like E3B. All right, we called it EIB back in the day, but now everybody gets a badge, right? So we got the E3B, and like so, like put me through it as a go no go. All right, when your battle buddy says this, what do you do? Right? What's the next thing you say? Right? And
I actually love that.
And well, we're working it, but and Buddy and I'll be seeing Buddy on Monday. I want to show him some new stuff, man. We got some new stuff, but yeah, go ahead, Buddy.
Yeah, well, my big thing was, in World War II, they had a bunch of bombers come back, and they're trying to figure out how to armor the bomber so that they could return. You know what I mean? And what they found is that they were armoring. They would map out where all the bullet holes were for all these bombers that came back, and then they would armor where the bullet holes were. Finally, they realized that they weren't having any success because they were armoring the planes that came back. They were successful. They got back. They weren't, and where they didn't have bullet holes is where they should have been putting more armor, because that's where the ones that weren't coming back were getting hit. And it seems like, and being from the outside, kind of looking in at this point, now that I'm retired, it seems like we do a lot of we do a lot of working with people that are having problems. We don't do a lot of paying attention to the ones that made it through without a whole lot of problems, or the ones that had that were how did they deal with things so they weren't having all of these issues, as opposed to how were the people that were not dealing with them in the same manner, and now they have all these issues, and then how do we figure out the keys to success and then instill them in privates or lieutenants when they're young, and then have them kind of use those tools as they get through. And I know that, like, when I came in the Army, training was a lot more mentally strenuous. And I've said it before.
Back in my day,
back in the 70s, buddy. Back in the 70s,
100% different. Like, we didn't go to a FOB when we went to JRTC. We went to a patrol base, and we had moulage kits where our buddies had, they put wounds and stuff on them, and you knew that it was fake, but you got a little bit of being able to see your buddy with an arterial bleed, so that if it did happen later on in combat, it wasn't a traumatic shock to you to see somebody's blood spurting out everywhere. And I feel like we've kind of gotten a little bit away from we've gotten a little bit away from that, and we've gotten to the point now that we're not doing as realistic of training because we're trying to keep it safe. But at the same time, you're going to have a kid who is just kind of, being trained to be able to pull a trigger or do whatever, but without seeing the consequences of those actions. And then you're going to send him into a marathon that is a combat situation, and then question at the end of the marathon why he's so jacked up. Well, that's because he didn't have the training going into the marathon. He wasn't running a mile or 2 miles or 10 miles. And then he went to run 26.2 miles, and now his knees are busted. His feet are busted. Well, they're busted because there wasn't an escalation of mental training prior to going into what is the Super Bowl of our profession, which is combat. If you go into combat and you've never seen somebody with a bloody nose, and then you've got a buddy with no arm, that's gonna hurt a little bit. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that, at some point you have to train these kids. Buddy. Yeah, but at some point you have to train these kids that I know it's not really. It's not a great way, or I don't know. I think it's a great way to look at it, but I think that people don't look at it. Combat's not personal.
Hey, buddy, I agree with you.
It's super personal. It's not. It's a game. It's a game with really high stakes, but it's not personal. It's like the guy in Iraq that was shooting at us or trying to kill us wasn't trying to kill Buddy Beckwith. They were trying to kill some dude in a uniform, and I was also trying to kill them. It's the high stakes game. And if you don't wrap your mind around the fact that there's nothing personal about it, even though it's super personal when you're burying one of your buddies, like they weren't trying to kill that guy. They were just trying to kill somebody. You're trying to kill them. It's hunting, but more challenging.
Well, hey, buddy, I agree with you on the need for training and realistic training. Actually, Mike adapted a really strenuous training program when he was at Forces Command and really drove it down to the squad level to get back to the professionalism that we are going to need in the next phase of the fight. He did that. We put it back into basic combat training too. The use of moulage kits and things like that, the simulations and simulators that are, I think you probably we're in a Mystic where we train our medics to use those systems that have all the blood, everything you just talked about in terms of realism and things like that. And I agree wholeheartedly. The most important survival instinct that we have comes through a hard, realistic, demanding training. I absolutely agree with you there. As for the kill or no kill piece of that, I mean, our job is to make sure that people understand that if you take on, and Dave Bellavia says this best, he says, if you take on the American fighting men and women, somebody else is going to be raising your sons and daughters, and people ought to know
possibly
that.
One of the best speeches I've ever heard.
The medal honor recipient. Yep.
Dave's a huge friend of mine, and I will tell you, he's right there. And we need to make sure the world knows that. We'll be your best friend, but we're going to be your worst enemy on the other end.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other piece, and you mentioned this, we're not, we don't have as many people cycling in and out of combat as we had before, and we were reacting to a problem then. Today, the Army and the military is being called to solve a national problem, right? And we've done this in our past. The national problem today is this mental health crisis in our country. And so we have young kids who, and I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's coming from, Call of Duty or something. I mean, I don't know where
I think it comes from instant gratification at such a high point. I've talked before. Everybody has instant gratification, but none of us would be here.
It also comes from, it almost seems like if you deal with 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, it's like there's a competition to see who's got the best diagnosis. Like they've all got to have autism. They've got to have some type of diagnosis for.
Hey, hold on, can I cut you off? Can we go live? Everybody got 2 minutes? I think my daughter's about to run the 800. Chris, can we go live with this? She's about to qualify for a sectional. She's got to come in the top 9 out of 20. So
all right, here we go.
Which one's her? That's her right there, the blonde and the white. He's a little.
Hey, somebody going to color this like a horse race or something?
And 69 seconds through the first.
She looks a lot like you running behind Dave during a couple of
minutes. With an all Orange County affair up front.
I think this is her. No, she might be the next heat. We may not be in this one.
That's not.
That's a brutal one.
Iverson.
White and black.
Yeah.
God, that looks like my daughter. I should
come
know
up
that.
on 600 meters.
He's catching up. He's catching up. She gets turned on here.
She's fishing. She's reeling them in.
She's reeling them in.
Oh yeah, she can turn it on.
Go.
This is that Karen Costello H2F training right here.
Look at her. Look at her go.
Straight away with Annie Iverson.
Come on now, get up there.
Definitely
Get her.
Iverson, Heath.
Go get her.
Get it.
Come on, keep going.
Come on, Nat. Get there. It's a sophomore right there.
There she goes.
Iverson got the guaranteed spot.
217. All right, that's PR.
215.93.
PR,
217.80.
Natalie.
Petrell at 218.20. Wilbur
218.
218.58.
Yep.
Williams 222.92.
All right, we're good. That should qualify. That should get the top 9.
Nice.
Boom.
Congratulations, sir.
That's
Hey,
what's
so,
up. Congrats.
Hey, I got a quick war story. I used to listen to my kids in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Thank God they do this. They used to put their football games on the radio, and I could listen to them. So I watched listen to my kids play high school sports. Get up at 3:00 in the morning just to hear them perform on the radio. Those are the sacrifices people don't know about, right? They don't know what we do, and we got to tell our story better. Frankly, they don't understand what it means to that the whole family serves, and so that Mike and I have been kind of pushing that agenda up out more and more these days.
That's good.
And
that's good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad we went live.
Me too. It was cool.
Yeah.
We were talking about training and everything, but mainly for General Funk, General Garrett, you could probably answer this as well. Training over 750,000 soldiers a year through TRADOC. What's one thing there that you would have loved to get rid of, but you couldn't because of the bureaucracy, everything involved, where you're like, now you could say, man, I wish I would have just stumped that and gotten rid of that? Like something specific?
I didn't get stuck too much on those kinds of things because we adapted it so much all the time, and it actually is a living, breathing organism. It goes all the time. So, I was able to get rid of a bunch of things. Don't forget, we had to do it during COVID. Most of the time, I was in charge there, and that was a whole different experience. And frankly, we learned a ton about that. On how to move soldiers, keeping them in cohorts. We changed it all to cohort kind of based training where you came in and then we learned about our movement plans and things like that. We got a lot more efficient, a lot better at understanding the needs of the troopers as they were coming out. I wish we could have started. I wish we'd fired more rounds. Frankly, I wish we'd spent more time on marksmanship. I've never been a big drill and ceremonies guy. The one thing I killed, I did not like the yelling and screaming and things as we brought kids in. They were volunteers. I liked how we caught their attention, but I did not like the guy that would be cursing and yelling and screaming and all that business. I didn't think it was
we grew up in. Yeah.
Buddy, don't even try to come back at that. Buddy, you were one of the nicest NCOs I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I never heard you yell, buddy. I never heard you yell.
Days in the 82nd.
You know why you never heard me yell,
sure.
Nick? You know why you never heard me yell? First of all, you never heard me yell because you didn't work directly for me.
You were my Pathfinder instructor.
I learned as a private. I had a team leader once, Hammer, and he told me, he was like, "I'm not going to yell at you because if I yell at you, then when I yell at you, it's not going to mean anything."
That's right. Exactly right.
That being said, difference of opinion. If you can't take getting yelled at and cussed at by somebody who's doing it because they love you, you're going to have a real problem when somebody's trying to kill you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm
going to take both sides of that.
Yeah.
There are people that yell too much and they do too, but there was a point for the indoctrination yelling for getting the basic training was really to discombobulate you and confuse you and get you to just kind of, I just got to do something. They had a point.
It's different when leaders do it. Like the leaders that did it, though, like some you respected and it was fine because you knew why they were doing it. But then it's the problem with the leaders that just do it just to do it.
It got to be sport. The reason I didn't like it.
There were a lot of leaders that just did it to do it.
There are definitely leaders that do it because they don't know how to lead and they don't know what they're doing. They've seen too many movies and they're doing what they think they should be doing, and other people are judging them on what they're doing instead
Exactly.
of doing what they know that they should do.
And that's why I didn't like it, because it became sport, right? It became and frankly, it was disingenuous.
Yeah,
that's why. But my drill sergeant, when I went to basic training, he was a 6'4" black guy. He did not have to yell at me. He was one intimidating dude. And we didn't want to disappoint him. I mean, if you look at the true leaders like Mike Garrett, he never yelled a day in his life, I don't think.
Yep.
Because if he raised his voice, you knew that you had done something wrong. Right?
Yeah.
So the yelling and screaming stuff, I don't think it's effective in combat, because when I want to yell and I want to make sure you do what I do, I want you to be surprised and ready to go.
Yeah. Well, but I think there's a little bit of a difference. That being said, that is what it is. I think but again, that also comes into training and experiences. And we have a tendency to promote people very quickly at some points that probably should spend a couple extra years in their rank.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as you get older and you've led more people, you realize that it's more effective to, I'll ask you once.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you once, and then the knife hand's going to come out.
Correct.
The knife hand comes out, and you know that I'm not asking, I'm not telling, I'm commanding you to do something, and you're going to do it, or we're going to fight.
That's right.
My favorite officer of all time was Marcus Evans, right? Yeah. Now the 25th Infantry Commander.
Yeah.
Right. He said it like he said it best. This goes to both of you. So this way it justifies both of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's, if you're yelling, it means you've lost control. And he's like, there are times you will lose control, especially in combat. You yell, people will respond. Because like, why is Buddy yelling? Because I'm facing the wrong damn way and I'm shooting at my own people.
Yeah. In combat though, but personally, my go-to in combat was not yelling. It was chin straps. I would run over and grab you up and be like, "Get your ass over there, dummy! What are you doing?"
Yes,
because you're already stressed enough.
Yeah, that's right.
But there is something to be said for stress inoculation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
it's so tough. It's so tough to train. It's so tough to train, especially when you're, in your throughput type scenarios of platoon live fires, squad live fires. Now, team live fires you can get crazy and sexy with, but at a certain point, the throughput starts to become an issue. Now, Dave, if you got to go, you got to go. He's at a birthday party. He's already got his beer.
Yeah, I got a few more minutes, brother. I got a few more minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I would like, when I was a first sergeant and you were looking at the squad live fires, right? And, I'm sitting here screaming at these kids. And afterwards I pick them up. I go, hey, look, the only reason I screamed at you was because it's so hard to replicate the stresses in combat that I'm screaming at you right now during your live fire so that you start freaking the hell out. But trust me, you did probably about 95% of things right.
You know what else? You know what else helps with doing exactly that and the stress inoculation thing? You're trying to get these kids to make a decision, and the reason that you want them to make any decision, bad decision, good decision, you can work out of a bad decision. You can work into a good decision. You can't work out of indecision. If you're just sitting there getting shot at, and you're not gonna move, you're not gonna do anything, you're gonna get killed. If you're not gonna make a decision about even the littlest thing under stress, then you're gonna have a real problem when you're actually getting shot at and you have to maneuver, you have to move, you have to do anything because you're frozen or locked up. And again, like I said, there's a time and place where it's right.
Well, what people are looking for though is consistency, right? And I didn't yell or holler a lot, but I tell you what, the thought that I had in mind, I can remember a platoon live fire. I'm battalion commander in the 82nd. And, one of the things, and again, I spent a lot of time in the Ranger Regiment, and, they did yell, they did kick, they did butt stroke. I mean, they got your attention. And I remember we're on this platoon live fire, and I always pay attention to saw gunners, right? Because we put that weapon into very junior soldiers' hands.
Stupid.
And so I always watch those guys. So anyways, we're doing this, and I'm watching this guy, and he's pulling the trigger, but he's looking left and right. He's looking. And so as soon as, and I tell you what, I afterwards, I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. But I tried to punt his K-pot off, right? Because that's what came to me at that particular point. And I think one of the reasons I probably getting fired about it, or get fired because of it, is because it's not something I often did. And it made a point, right? Not just to him, but to everybody else. And this is before, the 2 decades of combat. So I guess my point is, leaders that are consistent, and I love Marcus Evans. He's one of my favorites, and he's exactly right. None of us are perfect, but your soldiers know when you're genuine, when you care about them, 100%. And when something is important, right? Like that kid whose K-pot I tried to punt off, right? And all the people around him figured out that this is serious stuff.
All right, before we close out, again, thank you guys so much for coming on. Just one more quick question for the people watching, because we have such a diverse audience, from Vietnam veterans to entrepreneurs that aren't even veterans, that just love the entrepreneurs we bring on the show, that show what they're doing and stuff like that. But I guess if you could pick one thing that you learned in your awesome careers that's helping you do what you do now in leadership advice and speaking, what was there one thing that you somehow your speech always somehow comes around to this catalyst? Like what was that? We'll start with General Garrett. Is there anything that there's that one thing that is the core?
Yeah, I think it's for me there are a couple things. One, I hate hypocrites, and a lot of people talk about leading by example, but leading by example is, in my view, the only way to lead. A lot of people talk about it, very few people do it. And the other thing that's interesting is, I thought that there would be a difference between the leadership that I saw in the military and what I would see in this new phase of life. And what I found is not true. Leaders lead. Doesn't matter what kind of organization you lead. The principles of leadership are all the same. And leaders lead. So those are kind of two observations for me.
And I guess mine would be that on Funk's Fundamentals, number 40 is from a book written by a guy named James Kerr. It's called Legacy, right? And it's about leave your jersey in a better place, right? We got the absolute honor to wear the jersey of the greatest team ever assembled. Our job every day was to just leave that in a better place, find a better way, make a difference in somebody's life, make a difference for the men and women next to you or the country as a whole. But honor that. You're part of a legacy that has defended freedom for 200 plus years, 250 years, as a matter of fact. June 14th. So that was mine.
Awesome. No, those are great points. And then so we'll close it out here. Quick hot wash. There's something up in space. We don't know what it is. It's too heavy for us to put up there, but it's there. And the GoFos, they were not inclined to answer. They probably signed a statement when they got out that they couldn't talk about it. So just like you guys probably said, you watch the show every week. Remember when Buddy was talked about the Kandahar Giant in 5th Group? They're not allowed to talk about the Kandahar Giant. Like they're
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're not allowed to talk about it, but the 5th Group got rid of it, so it's good. So we had that. And then again, bacon will solve all the world's problems. All right, if you're ever having a fight, try giving the person a BLT. and then let's see how that works. Just give it a shot at the micro level, maybe, and then maybe we go macro. I don't know. Start small. Start with your neighbor. All right, bacon BLT. All right, we're friends again. And then we have I think the highest ranking people we've had on have been 2 stars so far. We had the bipolar general and Jenna Lu Wong on. And then we had, of course, we've had the SEAC on, retired SEAC Troxel like 40 times. He loves us. So the wild man will get on here and
he's great.
Go around. But no, very, very awesome to have you and honor to have you on, especially, with you two and what you're doing, what I see on LinkedIn, being part of that mental health fight. Because, and I will just say this quickly in the AAR is, we are our brother's keeper. We can do more for each other than the VA can ever do. The VA can do a lot. I don't want to take it away from them. And the behavioral health specialists can do a lot. But we, as our battle buddies, we're the ones that can really, really put a dent in things. And when you got 2 retired 4 stars putting their feet in the game and still addressing it, that says a lot to the community. And, everybody knows you need top cover and you need the bottom up refinement. And you need people doing it. So we're going to keep rocking and rolling with it. It was a blast. And of course, we just watched my daughter race and she took 6th. So she qualified for the sectional finals next week. Hopefully it's not in Riverside where it was 100 degrees today. Hopefully it's a little bit more towards the shore. We got that. And then I don't want to end it. We're going to have to end it on a sad, but memorial. Well, we'll do the sad one first, Chris. Let's do the GoFundMe. This is at Fort Sill. And we don't do a lot of GoFundMes on here because it's hard to vet a lot of them, and we don't want them going the wrong way.
To be honest, I think this is probably the first.
We did one before years ago, when Facebook shut us down. But this is Sergeant Major Devereaux. His son was in a car accident. You can read it there. Feel free to pause it. Click on the link there. It says Kobe 17 high school senior got into a car accident. And again, this is one of the things that Army Emergency Relief is probably already involved with and helping out with. But, read this story. And this is a trusted and verified source. It will 100% not go to anything wrong or stupid. But we're looking for some help for a Sergeant Major buddy whose kid was actually flatlined. And he said he injured a C5, C7 vertebrate, and he's now a quadriplegic. But he was deadlined for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And he came back to life after 2 hours and 30 minutes. So that's pretty crazy. So our thoughts and prayers are with you. Veteran Trash Talk will make a donation to that. And we'll do the best that we can to help spread the word. And then we'll go to the next one, Chris, which, our producer, Chris, out in Virginia. All right, that's his father, served honorably, just passed away from cancer. And they just put him, put him in the ground yesterday. We love you, Chris. We love your family, and thank you to his service. And he got his burial rights and everything like that. And yeah, great human being. Produced a couple great sons, right? And that served their country. And like I said, our thoughts and prayers are with you too, Chris. And we wish your family the best in remembering him. Other than that, we do like to make donations, and we don't make a lot of money on our shirts because we don't really care about making money, but we do sell them because we're veterans. So a lot of us grew beards, started selling coffee, started selling T-shirts. You got to do that. But, we have the Veteran Trash Talk tee. We got to get the demons out. All right, that's our message to all veterans. All right, get the demon out. Let us kill it together. But nobody can help you if you don't get it out, and you own it. And then we got the Beth, Navy veteran Boats, a good friend of ours. His wife passed away from breast cancer. 100% of all the profits from that shirt go to his foundation in fighting breast cancer. So again, if you ever have an idea or a fundraiser, we have a T-shirt shop. We won't collect a single dime, and we'll run a fundraiser for you, anything like that. So if you have those ideas, email me, BigEarl@VeteranTrashTalk.com, and we'll get it going. Because most importantly, Saturdays are for mental health. Right? We get on here, we bullshit, maybe drink some 10th Mountain whiskey, and just have a good time. And then the rest of the weekend's gravy. So appreciate you guys coming on. And look forward to seeing what you're doing in the future. And watch out for my trolls on LinkedIn because I'll catch what you're saying. All right, I'm going to get on there.
There we go.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks
See
a lot,
you guys next week.
Really appreciate it.
You guys